everyone, my name is Jalen, and today Centennial youth will pay tribute to our St. Louis history.
Hello, my name is Ariel Elliott, and I'll be doing a reflection on Frankie News Freeman. Since receiving her JD from Howard University School of Law, where she graduated second in her class in 1947, Frankie News Freeman has blazed an incredible trail of present and future Black women lawyers. She went on to become one of the first Black women attorneys to practice law in Missouri. Frankie News Freeman became a civil rights attorney back when the Revolution. There had been numberless efforts to advance the cause and improve the life of African Americans since Reconstruction. But the civil rights movement, which was a national movement, was getting started in the mid-1950s. Before the marches, church violence, and police attacks, African American lawyers chipped away that kept their people contained and away from anything that would border in substantial political power. Controlling where African Americans lived was just one part of this sinister scheme. In 1955, Freeman led a team that won a case making it legal to discriminate on the basis of race in public housing in St. Louis. This was a meaningful victory because people followed her example. In other cities, creating a domino effect. Many other legal battles followed as well. Over the span of Freeman's 60-year law career, she became the first woman Commission of Civil Rights, the 14th National President of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporation, was inducted into the International Civil Rights Walk of Fame, and served on a number of national and nonprofit boards. She also has a key to the city of St. Louis and a star on its Walk of Fame. Freeman received many honors, awards, and recognition before she passed away on January 12, 2018, at the age of 101. In honor of her life's work, the St. Louis City chapter of the NAACP has dedicated a bronze statue in Freeman's honor. It stands tall in downtown St. Louis, Cancer Plaza, near the old courthouse.
Did y'all hear that? She was a trailblazer.
Do you know who J.S. Scott is? J.S. Scott was an enslaved person who accompanied his owner in army physicians to posting in the Free State, Illinois, and Free Territory, Wisconsin, before returning with him to the slave state of Missouri. In 1846, Scott and his wife Harriet Robinson Scott, aided by anti-slavery lawyers, sued for their freedom in St. Louis court on the grounds that their residence in the Free Territory had freed them from the bonds of slavery. Scott's case reached the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled that he was not entitled to his freedom, and more broadly that African Americans were not U.S. citizens. Judge Scott did not in fact get his freedom, but not through the courts, after him and his wife were later brought to the Blow family, who had sold Scott to the enemy in the first place. They were freed in 1857. Scott died of tuberculosis in St. Louis the following year. Harriet Scott lived until June 1876, long enough to see the Civil War and the 13th Amendment, 1865, abolish slavery in the United States. On June 8, 2012, the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation, the National Park Service, and the master sculptor Harry Weber were incredibly proud to unveil a statue of Dred and Harriet Scott on the south line of Old Courthouse in downtown St. Louis. The Scotts are depicted standing close, holding their heads high, their eyes directed not only archward and across the Mississippi River, but towards the horizon of freedom in which they believed enough to one day finally see.
Now, how you gonna take away a free man's freedom?
is Scott Joplin? Scott Joplin was a famous pianist and composer who achieved fame for his ragtime compositions. He is known widely as the king of ragtime. You can visit the house Joplin and his wife Belle lived in for some time. Scott Joplin House State Historic Sites plays some of his famous melodies as you walk through the modest flat on Del Mar Boulevard. It is furnished and lit by gaslight as if it were 1902, when Joplin spent time there composing some of his famous songs.
Good morning, Centennial. My name is Andrew Perkins. Who is John Barry Meacham? By the 1820 census, 10,000 slaves lived in Missouri. About 1/5 of the state's population that same year, the Missouri Compromise admitted Missouri to the Union as a slave state while Maine was admitted as a free state. Laws of the time forbade the education of black children, but an ingenious minister, the Reverend John Barry Meacham, established the Freedom School aboard a steamboat anchored in free territory in the middle of the Mississippi River. Meacham's life is featured in exhibits at the Black World History Museum, and his grave site can be visited at Bell Fountain Cemetery.
Educated by any means necessary.
Good morning, Centennial. My name is Derek Perkins II, and I will be talking about the Ville neighborhood. It belonged to Charles M. Eller, a florist and horticulturist who maintained a conservatory and greenhouses on the tract of land. During Eller's 20 years at his property on Good and St. Charles Rock Road, the area became known as Ellersville. Ellersville was formally incorporated into the city of St. Louis in 1876, following the passage of the city's new charter separating it from the St. Louis County. In the late 19th century, the neighborhood attracted German and Irish immigrants, along with some African Americans. The neighborhood's first light institution, Ellersville Colored School No. 8, later renamed Simmons School, opened in 1873. Prior to the United States Civil Rights Movement, the use of restrictive covenants and other legal restrictions prevented African Americans from finding housing in many areas of the city. As a result, the African American population of St. Louis became heavily concentrated in and around the Ville between 1920 and 1930. The Ville went from being 8% to 86% African American. The neighborhood quickly became the cradle of African American culture and home to many black professionals, businessmen, and entertainers. Through the subsequent 50 years, the Ville nurtured a rich heritage for the black population of the city of St. Louis and was home to a number of important black institutions, including Simmons Elementary, Sumner High School, the high school for black students west of the Mississippi River, Pearl College, Lincoln University, Law School, Stowe Teachers College, Tandy Recreation Center, Annie Malone Children's Home, and Homer G. Phillips Hospital, which at the time was responsible for training more black doctors than any other hospital in the world. The Ville is a testament of the resilience of African Americans in the United States and St. Louis. Through the less half a square mile community was formed out of racism, restrictions, and exclusion policies of the St. Louis region. It grew to influence the development of black history far outside of the neighborhood's confines and across the United States, developing black doctors, entrepreneurs, educators, and entertainers.
Hi, my name is Julia Hill. I have a question for you. Do you know what is the St. Louis Walk of Fame? The St. Louis Walk of Fame is located along the Del Mar Loop and honors notable people from St. Louis who made the contribution to the culture of the United States. Visit the stars of the notable African American, such as Maya Angelou, Tina Turner, Chuck Berry, and James Cole Papa Bell. All the inductees were either born in the greater St. Louis area or spent their formative or creative years here. Thank you.
I will have a slide there, and you can too.
Stowe Teachers College was began in 1890 as a normal school for future black teachers of elementary schools in the city of St. Louis. This normal school was founded by the St. Louis public school system and was an extension of Sumner High School. In 1924, the Sumner Normal School became a four-year institution with authority to grant the bachelorette degree. In 1929, its name was changed to Stowe Teachers College in honor of the abolitionist and novelist Harriet Beecher Stowe. The earliest predecessor of Harriet Stowe State University was a normal school established for white students only by the public school system of the city of St. Louis. This school was later named Harris Teachers College. These two teacher education institutions were merged by the Board of Education of St. Louis Public Schools in 1954 as the first of several steps to integrate to the public school of St. Louis. The merged institution retained the name Harris Teachers College. Later, in response to many requests from alumni of Stowe Teachers College and members of the greater St. Louis community, the Board of Education granted to restore to the college's name the word Stowe and to drop the word teachers. Since then, Harris Stowe has undergone many changes and has added many degree programs. Thus, from its beginnings as two normal schools in the mid and late 19th century to its present status as a state institution of public higher education, Harris Stowe State University and its predecessor institutions have always been in the front of teacher education.
Emma,
Yes.
I'm glad we fixed that.
Who is Dick Gregory? Gregory gained attention as a comedian in the early 1960s and was the first black comedian to widely win recognition from white audiences. He would humor people by saying things like, "I waited at the counter of a white restaurant for 11 years. When they finally integrated, they ain't had what I wanted." Active in the civil rights movement, he participated in numerous demonstrations and was arrested for civil disobedience several times. In 1963, he was jailed in Birmingham, Alabama, and ran for mayor of Chicago in 1967 and president in 1968. Dick Gregory was known for telling stories like this. "They would always talk about Russia dropping the bomb. I got news. If it happens, it's going to be more like 10,000 bombs. There'll be a 100 megaton bomb for New York, a 50 megaton for Chicago, a 30 megaton for Cleveland, and a quarter megaton job for Grosse Pointe. And it better be white, because if it's black, they ain't gonna let it in."
Hope you enjoyed our presentation. Say it with me, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud.